Today's episode of Running It Back on the Running It Back Podcast Network /YouTube /Patrick's Phone is up and ready. It's going to be an enjoyable one, too. Hey, last week on the show, if you didn't already listen to it, Stuart Thompson joined me for a really good conversation, borderline therapeutic. Go back and listen to that if you didn't already. I really enjoyed talking to Stuart. And, as I mentioned, I hadn't seen him in over a year. So these interviews are not only fun to listen to from a viewer perspective, but keep in mind, people, these are guests of the show, friends that I haven't seen in forever either. So you're witnessing a really impromptu conversation that I feel takes a second to get into, but once we're rolling, it's real. It's a real conversation. It's a real back and forth. It's real insight. And that's why I always thank the guests for opening up to me like that. So it's enjoyable for everybody that you see on the screen. What's going on with me? Well, shows. That's what's going on. Next month, July 16th, 7:30, right here in sunny Southern California. That's right. A show is here in sunny Southern California. The 16th, 7:30, you can see me performing live stand-up comedy in front of an actual crowd, not a screen, a crowd. So if you're in the area, if you're in the Burbank area, I am at Flappers Comedy Club. You can come see me do stand-up comedy. I hope to see you there. Shows are happening again, and I'm on some. So I will let you know, and you'll be there, and I will thank you. Today on the show, Mike Perkins joins me. He's been on the show before, so he joins again. Mike, interesting, he does his own show. He had me on it a couple months back where he does a full traditional late night show via Zoom, via live YouTube stream. He did it live before we went into all lockdown Larry mode, and he just took it online. So we catch up with him. He explains to me the show, the idea behind it, and his plans for the future. He's got plans in mind too. He's got dates. So we talk about that. But not only that, Mike is on the show because we are introducing a new segment to the Running It Back Network. A couple names are in mind. Here's my pick so far. We haven't chosen one. Me and Mike are doing deep dives on the mob. That's right. Mike has a special interest in the mob. He's always loved it, as you'll see. I have an interest in it because I've always been curious. Mike is East Coast. He lives here, though. I'm West Coast. So we've got this dynamic where Mike grew up around mob stuff. I grew up around pop culture mob stuff. And we do sort of an overall breakdown this week of mob movies, the good ones, the bad ones, who our favorite actors are, where we think mob movies are going. Not to mention, we give ourselves mob nicknames too. I think you're going to enjoy it. If you're unfamiliar with Mike, go back and listen to his episode on here. We talk about his life, his jobs, his comedy career as well. So, my pick for the mob series, tell me what you think, Mob Rule. Undecided. But you're still going to enjoy the episode. So right now, put on a collared shirt. Join me and Mike Perkins for the first installment of our Mob Deep Dive. Myself, Mike Perkins, here we go. On the screen right now, joining me, Mike Perkins. Mike's been on the show before, but now he's back. How are you, Mike?
I'm back. I'm excited to be back, man. It's great to see you.
Hey, Mike, last time we talked or saw each other, I did your Not Another Late Night show. You made it virtual, though. You had a virtual show going on.
Yeah, so we took I do a comedy talk show called Another Late Show Tonight. We were doing it once a month, and then once COVID happened, we couldn't go indoors or people can go outside. So we kind of compact the entire show into Zoom, and we're streaming to YouTube, which is where we're at right now. So,
and I don't think people know, but you essentially do a full-on late night TV show on Zoom. But before that, you were doing it live. You would do this whole show live at a stage somewhere.
We would do the whole show live at Loft Ensemble in North Hollywood. The cool thing about that, like we kind of still on Zoom, we had to compact everything. So we still had like different characters. I think the show you were on, we had Kiki Anderson pop on and she did like a mermaid bit as a character. We're like, oh, somebody's stopping by, and they just kind of pop in the Zoom room, and we just put them on screen. But essentially we would have like people like my buddy Mark Sipka. I think Mark Sipka too. He would just kind of come out of the crowd and just do different characters and stuff. And then we would have, he would just kind of come from the backstage or wherever. And we would just have it was a whole late night show. We'd have videos and commercial spoofs, and man, we have a technical director. We had a sound guy. We had everything, a whole production pretty much every month.
Well, I had no idea. I didn't know what I was zooming into.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, then you start the show, you do a traditional monologue.
Yeah.
You had like a remote on-site reporter guy do sports headlines.
Yeah.
And then you had music. You had a musical act. And then I was the comedian. I'm like, oh, this is an actual show.
Yeah.
Mike does a real show. It was pretty awesome. It kind of took me by surprise.
Thanks, man. I appreciate you doing it too. You were awesome as always too. It was great to hang out in the room. We got to have you on the live show too again, man. It's gonna be fun.
What's the status? When are things getting off the ground and back to regular in your world? What do you think is going to happen?
So our next official live show is on June 24th. It's a Thursday at 8 p.m. at Loft Ensemble. It's going to be our first live show back in 15 months. So that'll be the next live talk show.
So it is happening.
It's happening, baby. Yeah. Because June 15th, we're all back. LA is 100% again.
Right. Yeah, that's true. I've been seeing signs on marquees that saying June 15th, reopening, grand openings. It's kind of an LA rebirth.
Yeah. We're all getting back into it, man. So
that's right. Back to normal. Just yesterday, a homeless dude chased me with a folding chair, and I was like, I can breathe again.
We're back, baby. We're back.
we're back, everyone. Anybody smell that? Smells like a forest fire. Woo, feels good. Feels good. We waited a long time.
We're burning, baby. We're burning.
We're burning. What a year. What a year. It's hard to describe the feeling, the mindset, the overall view to people who don't live in California. I just tell people, hey guys, this was our 1 in 15 season. All right.
Yeah.
We our coach was bad. We were fighting in the locker rooms. Well, there was a couple good plays here and there. We got in the end zone once or twice, but we went 1 in 15 this year, and we're rebuilding.
Oh, that's awesome. That's funny. It is crazy the amount of stuff that happens in California too. You have earthquakes, you have fires. We're in a drought. It's like, it's just the crazy stuff that happens.
It is a crazy state. I tell it to people all the time. Like, we all moved here. We all went broke to move here. We all work part-time.
Yep.
We all pay high cost of living. We all pay insurance. We sit in traffic. Hey, what was the point of moving here again?
Yeah.
Wait,
why are we here?
What was the reason again?
Do I need earthquake insurance? What is this? Is this?
Yeah. It's a crazy state. It's hard. And everybody's in a different sort of state of acceptance of it. Some people are at their wits' end. Some people are positive about it. They just got to keep grinding every day, just a little bit. And some people are like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I don't know.
I don't know when I'm going back. I don't know. I'm going back home. I don't know. Whatever. Back to Jersey for me. Back to Jersey for me.
Have you gotten asked this from people that you haven't talked to in a while? They ask like, did you stay or did you move back? To me, I'm like, what am I going to move back to my parents' house? I'm 40 years old.
Yeah.
Where am I going to go?
I got it from my agent, which was, so they sent like, because nothing was happening in LA, the whole pandemic and stuff, but we were like keeping in touch. But they sent an email out in like December of like, hey, we're going to start doing this and blah, 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 blah. And this is like months after, and I was like, hey, happy to start getting back out there and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, then she emailed me back. She's like, oh, I didn't know you were back in LA. And I'm like, yep, been here the whole time. Thanks for checking out my shows.
This book might already exist, just very LA specific conversations. that happen, a conversation with a manager, conversation with a booking agent, conversation with someone who runs a theater, and just a very Los Angeles specific conversation that would happen no place other. It'd be like, did you call back that studio head? Who? Oh, call him back. I don't like to call him on Fridays. Like, no, you call him.
Yeah.
And you just have this LA specific conversation.
Yeah. There's so many LA specific things like that where you have to like be constantly on call no matter what too, which is like, can I have time to breathe? You know what I mean? Like there are times like you got to call someone back within 15 minutes. It's like, what?
Can you be on the corner of San Vicente and Sepulveda by 3:30 and bring a feathered boa?
Yeah.
What? For what? Just be. I'll email it to you.
I got to go pick up the boa. It's going to take 20 minutes. I don't have enough time. On the other side of town.
Again, why do we all think this was a good idea?
Yeah, let's just move back, dude. Move back to Texas. I'll move back to Jersey.
There we go.
We're fine. We got our own studios now. Look at this.
That's true. We're all making it work. It's so weird. We're all building mid-range production companies in our own apartments.
Yeah. Well, you have a mid-range. I had the low range. I don't even have I still got my door in the background. You got the whole studio and stuff.
Great thing about Zoom the last 15 months is now we see what everybody's renting.
Yeah.
We see exactly like, what do you got? A 1-bedroom? Interesting. Oh, yeah. Is that the kitchen? What's crown molding like?
I asked you before the podcast if you could take a picture of your background so I can use it as my virtual.
Oh, very nice. That's right. The virtual background is huge. The virtual, the physical, whatever you do.
Yours is real. I want to make yours my virtual.
Mine's real. Yeah.
It's real stuff, baby.
That's right. I'm in the studio. No greater discrepancy than the word studio. The studio can mean music recording, instruments, musicians, producing music and creative stuff, or studio can mean 1-bedroom apartment / kitchen.
Yeah, maybe a kitchen.
Quite the range in the word studio.
There's a lot of range, but you don't have a range because you usually just have a hot pot that you have to cook out of, in the studio.
Hey, where were you yesterday? I spent all day in the studio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Take it for what you will. Well, Mike, awesome. You are not just here for your health, though. You and I are launching. Well, we're going to give it a go. We're going to see what this is all about. But you've expressed an interest in the mob movies, mob history in general. I'm down. I have expressed an interest in talking to anybody who will stand the tone of my nasally drone. So what better way to kick it off than we have a mob movie, I guess you would say, breakdown, and we're still floating ideas for the name of it. Hopefully we'll do a series of it. But for this one, we're doing a mob movie breakdown, not only mob movies, but great ones, but the bad ones too.
Yeah.
That's sort of our thoughts of it. So
there's a lot of bad ones. You think of the good ones, but there's a lot of bad ones.
As I did my research, there are a lot of mob movies. So no shortage of mob content out there. Mob B movies, but A movies, the ones we all know of. Why do you think we love mob movies in general?
Well, I think it's like, it's kind of like, I wrote this, I think it's kind of just like the glitz and glamour of it all. And there's a good quote from Goodfellas where it's like, we were the movie stars with muscle. And that's what we love. We love that kind of, people love that film noir type, I think too, where like mob guys were just always that kind of like, they were ahead. They were beating the system, but also like really nice. But then behind closed doors, they were just like, doing whatever the hell they wanted.
I think you're right. I think we're infatuated with it because in some weird way, it's an American success story because we have immigrants coming to America. We have them fighting for a piece of the pie. Their means for getting that piece of the pie are romanticized, albeit extremely violent.
Yeah.
Because we don't feel this way about drug cartels. We don't feel this way about gangs. But the mob, for some reason, we have this like almost kind of comical interest in it where they're sort of appealing to us. So it's interesting that a group that is so violent and so detrimental. We cannot get enough of it.
Yeah.
I think this in a weird way, it's an American story.
Well, I think the thing is too, like, there is a lot of violence, but I think compared to like cartels, like I remember watching Narcos, which I know is like kind of based on what's his name?
Escobar?
Narcos. Yeah, Pablo Escobar. Um, those guys would kill entire families and stuff, and just for nothing, and just like take out, where the mob was just like they took care of their communities and stuff too, and like people were on the take and they take care of cops, and cops would look the other way and stuff, and like, but if they would always if they whack some guy, then they would just take care of their family too. You know what I mean? Like, it happened a lot. Even watching Sopranos, you'd see like, if they killed one of the guys, they'd be like, well, make sure Jeannie's okay. Jeannie and the kid are all right. And they always take care of people. So I think that's the kind of thing that people love about that too, is like, they don't really hurt innocent people, but if somebody gets tied up with them, then obviously they had it coming,
That's a good point. Also, it's the notion of the family, I think, is appealing to us.
Yeah.
And in a deep psychological angle, I think we love a bad guy. I think we love a bad guy who has a hint of morality or is working on some form of their morality, albeit their own. I think we like that about it too. Myself, growing up, I grew up in the Southwest. I think the notion of New York is interesting as well. The notion of this is what goes on in that town. It's a million miles away, but look how interesting this is. Look how it's a whole nother round of people, a whole different slice of ethnicity. Look at that. What's going on there? Is it real? Is it not real? I think that's a little bit of too, from my perspective. It's so far away and yet interesting. But it's at a distance for me. But you grew up on the East Coast, so you're a little,
I grew up all
closer to it.
I grew up all around the mobbed up stuff. I just, my whole family like kind of ran like Atlantic City back in the day of the casinos and stuff. So like, I'm Italian, and I grew up in a very like old school Italian kind of community. It was always like Italian or Irish, but like, a lot of mom and pop places, like nice Italian restaurants and stuff. And I was right over the bridge from Philly, and Philly, like South Philly, is known for, Italian and the Italian market and stuff, as we know for movies like Rocky, if you think of it that way. But, I grew up all around that stuff. So it's kind of like what we knew, like New York style. And I didn't really go to New York until I was like out of high school and stuff. I would start taking the train up there and doing like improv class and stuff. But yeah, it's always like, yeah, I grew up around all that East Coast attitude that people, which I think caters to me out here, because everyone's like, oh wow, Jersey and New York, what's it like? I'm like, I don't know. It is what it is.
What's it to you?
Yeah. What are you asking? Why?
The regions of this country are very defined. We have East Coast, we have West Coast, Midwest, we have the South, and it seems very defined. People are very prideful of what region they're from. We live out here in Southern California, but people take where they grew up with them. Like if you also, like I went out of state to college too, and you would hear nonstop, oh no, this is how we do this back home, or oh that would never fly back home. You would, you take that with you. I think we like that also about mob, is that it's very East Coast.
Yeah, everything is very East Coast. I know we could talk about this too. We'll talk about it in a little bit, but like when I showed my girlfriend Goodfellas for the first time, she was just like, wow, they all talk like you. I'm like, what the fuck is that supposed to be?
You're making eyes at me, sweet cheeks.
Come on, sweet cheeks. But yeah, it is that East Coast, that East Coast attitude of it all. That's, I mean, every mob stuff, because it started, like you said, I mean, it is the American story of like all these Italian immigrants and even Irish immigrants and stuff too, that came over to Ellis Island near New York. And then they kind of like made a name for themselves once Prohibition happened. When they passed Prohibition, if you watch like Boardwalk Empire, talks about this stuff. Prohibition made all these these Italian immigrants and the mob guys and stuff kind of just take over, because that's where they made all of their money and all of their riches. And that's what started, Cosa Nostra in America, because it was always in Italy. That was always kind of the, in Sicily and stuff. That was their way of life. But bringing that over here from the old country, I mean, that 1930s and stuff, 1920s, when they all came over, that's when it all started happening for them.
I think the 1920s and 30s is a good point too, because that is definitely in our distant memory. It's not quite so long ago that we can't remember it. And it's not recent enough that we know what's true, what's not true. 20s and 30s is definitely like, this was I know people who are alive in that era. So we have that connection to it. The other interesting part about mob movies or mob stories is there's a rise and fall to most of these stories. We see the characters, we see the story come full arc. It's rare a mob movie ends happy. They get busted, somebody dies. It's a full story. I think that as an audience or that as a reader, I think that story we're drawn to as well.
Yeah. Well, because they want you to, with the movies, they want you to know that it's not the right thing to do. I guess too, but it's also, a lot of it, anything good comes to an end. My ex-girlfriend will tell you that, if you ever ask her, but, it's just, you're right. You're completely right.
Thank you. That's the end of the show, everybody. What was the first?
Appreciate it.
Everybody go to see Mike's show on July 28th.
Yeah.
What was the first mob movie you ever saw?
Man, I was thinking back. I think it had to be. I think I've seen clips of stuff, maybe Casino when my dad was watching and stuff. But I remember fully watching Goodfellas my freshman year of high school, and I was just I was just overwhelmed by it. Just everything. I was like, this is the best thing ever. I remember being just anything one day we're going to get made, or whatever. It's these are the good years, or whatever. I was just so I loved it, dude. I just the capos. And after that, I was just in love with Goodfellas, and Martin Scorsese movies. Scorsese, he's the king. That's Goodfellas is one of his masterpieces,
People about our age, we're close in age. We grew up with the mob movies already having been established. So when one came out, everybody knew it was going to be great. Everybody was already entrenched in mob. We weren't around necessarily for the start of the Godfather movie coming out or the book before that. So I think part of that too, that interesting fascination of it is you and I we're already in the high wave of mob movies. Factor in Scorsese directing awesome mob movies, everybody clamoring for the next mob movie, characters in the or actors in the movie that are now associated as mob people or mob actors.
Yeah.
So we really hit it at a time where mob movies are really just coming into their own.
Yeah. I mean, Goodfellas was 1990. Then you had Godfather came out
Godfather is late 70s,
72,
I believe.
72 or 74.
I didn't even know it was that early.
Something like that. Yeah. Because the book came out in 1960 something, I think, Mario Puzo's book. And that's what Francis Ford Coppola based it off of, was that book. And then The Godfather was the first look into all the mob movies and what the mob was actually like with the capo regime and, consigliere and stuff like that. So
what do you think Italians think of mob movies? You know how sometimes Italians come to America to visit, they order pizza and they're like, this isn't pizza. What do you think their reaction is to mob movies?
That'd be so funny if mobsters from Italy were like, this isn't real mafia. Just the same as pepperoni.
Is the mob?
You whack the guy. How? That's not how you whack a guy.
You bring me Papa John right now. Do they even have, is a mob
better
in
ingredients,
Italy?
better mafia, Italy.
What do we think they think? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you're not supposed to even know what the mafia is. That's where, if you dig deep into when it started getting like big in the 70s and 80s, it's already been around for 100 years and stuff. And, and La Cosa Nostra, you're not supposed to even talk about it or people or know. That's why like all the old school bosses, like in real life, they never actually wanted to be seen or anything, like you didn't know, they weren't connected with people. They didn't, they just kept their money and kept low profile and stuff. And then, then everybody wants to showboat. And that's where I think the real Italians would be like, what the fuck are these American mafia guys doing? The show, like Gotti was the one that was like, he was called the Dapper Don, where he like loved the press and would just, be slapping reporters left and right or whatever.
The showmanship of the mob definitely hits the core with us too. We love brash. We love in your face. We love loud. That is got to have something to do with it as well. The well-dressed aspect of it, we just eat up to as an audience as well. I think the first mob movie I ever saw I was piecing together elements of The Godfather for probably 10 years before I actually saw it as a whole.
Yeah.
And The Godfather is super dramatic. And then right in that era, that 90s era, then I saw Goodfellas and Casino, but they were funny. They were funny movies, even though they were dramatic. So I was like, oh, these can be dramas. These can be comedies. And then I'm all in. That was my sort of that was my required reading.
Yeah.
Was piecing together Godfather, but really Goodfellas and Casino are the two that just sort of kicked it into overdrive. What would be your, or how about this? What would be your mob nickname? Have you ever thought about giving yourself a mob nickname?
Mob nickname. I would say like, well, my nickname back home was always Perk, for Perkins.
That's good.
So like, I guess you can call me Mikey Perkins, or Mikey
P is an easy one. You can go
Mikey P, or like Mikey Funny Guy Perkins, or something. I don't know, something like that.
Funny Guy, that's a good one.
Yeah.
What about in association with your late night show? What about Mikey Late Nights?
Oh, Mikey Late Nights.
Mikey Late Nights. How about that?
I love that, dude. I'm using that.
Yo, Mikey Late Nights.
Mikey Late Nights.
That's right. Here's my mob nickname, and it being 2021, here's my super woke mob nickname. Patty Pronouns.
Patty Pronouns.
He's
That's
a he. Right.
Hey, that he, him,
Yo, what'd you call me? I'm Patty
you talking
Pronouns.
to me or are you talking to them?
Patty Pronouns. You're talking to them? Patty Pronouns.
Patty Pronouns. I love it.
Do you prefer mob or mafia? Is there a right one to say?
I've always said mob, I think, because we'd always say like, back home, we'd always say like, oh, that guy's mobbed up, and stuff, or like, he's got like, he's connected and stuff. Or I think we always just said mob, because I think mafia is the term where, because the real term is La Cosa Nostra, in Italian, which means I think it translates to family, maybe. And I think mafia is where they started saying it like come America, like the American mafia. Mm-hmm. So I think that's where mafia comes from. But I always said mob. What do you say?
I always said mob too. I associate mafia with mafioso. So I think mafia, I think old country, Italy, I think a little more old school. I think mob, I think Americanized. I think Italians raised in America, new generation.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's a right or wrong one though. I don't know if someone would correct me saying like, this is right, this isn't right.
Yeah. I think we'd say, I think I would just say mob. Mob might be like a more like modernized way of saying it, I think, over the years. Maybe it was always like the mafia. And then, but then there was other mafias too, besides Italian, which Italian mafias are like the number one mafia.
Right.
Yeah. They've always
what other ethnicities have a mob? We talked about a cartel. They've got they're divvied up by families.
Yeah.
But what else?
And there was the Irish mafia. Like Peaky Blinders and all them stuff, weren't they like considered like a mob, I guess?
Right.
But that's fun. It's fun. It's great. I mean, on my Italian side, it's not great, but that the Italians really took the term mob and mafia you know.
Where's the Italian on your side? Are you full? Is one of your parents
Uh,
Italian?
I'm half. I'm like De Niro in Goodfellas. Like I can't get
mm.
made, but I can always be part of the crew, you know. Uh,
Perkins is what?
my dad is there's some Irish in there, and then he's also Ukrainian.
Mm.
And then my mom is full. She's full Italian.
What's
So
her last name?
she used to be Persiano.
Oh, no.
So
Do you use Persiano in any part of your name? Do you make it your middle name or anything like that?
no, mine just yeah, never used it before.
Mm.
So yeah, but she was very, very Italian. My grandpa, we used to call my pop cigar was her dad because he'd always have a cigar. It's funny because like he was a big like VIP guy back in the casinos back in the day and shit. He like bought like a Lincoln like cash, you know. He just had like the nice Lincoln, nice suits. We actually just looking at pictures. 2 weeks ago, my parents came down to visit, and my mom had all these pictures from like she went to go see Sinatra down Atlantic City, like back in the '80s and stuff. And like my grandmom, her mom, like kind of knew Nancy Sinatra and stuff, and like kind of knew like they were able to kind of be up close to Sinatra. But they showed me pictures of my grandpa, and he was just like full on decked out in a suit, just like looking all like super nice. And he's like, yeah, he was like full on Italian. It's cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
People forget how prevalent smoking used to be.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
So, I mean, cigars, cigarettes. I was born in 1980, so I caught the tail end of smoking in restaurants.
Yeah.
I caught the tail end of giving ashtrays as gifts.
Yeah.
I remember like fancy ashtrays in people's living rooms.
They don't even have them anymore, don't they?
No.
I remember being at like souvenir shops and you can get like a, Palm Beach ashtray or something. They don't have them.
You would have the ashtray, and then fancy ones would have the little divots in the ashtray in the plastic, so you could wedge your cigarette in there and take your hand away from it and let it keep burning.
So funny.
And then you could come back to it for later. I remember restaurants. First, they made a smoking section. And then it would be like, do you want smoking or non-smoking? And they would separate. Then there was no smoking in restaurants. And then it was outside. And then it became, all right, 500 feet from the door. And then it became third-hand smoke is bad. So eventually we're going to be like, smoking? All right, I got to bury you underground 10 feet under.
Yeah. Smoking, shoot them,
Right.
Yeah. That's so funny, dude. I remember being a kid, like, because I grew up in the 80s too. I was 86. I remember like the non-smoking, smoking in restaurants and shit. My grandmom had like, it was a fancy cigarette holder, and all that's like a cigarette purse kind of thing. I remember her having that like real shiny, like gold and black one.
Yes. I'm not a smoker. I've, smoked 2 cigarettes when I was in high school to try it out because I wanted to be cool. Never got into smoking. But if I see a movie where guys are at a casino, like playing blackjack, and they're doing the thing where they're holding the whiskey glass and there's a cigarette in between the fingers, I'm like, God damn it, give me a cigarette and a glass of whiskey. I want to do that. I want to do that right now.
That's funny.
Every time I want to take up smoking.
Yeah.
I don't even smoke. It seems so cool. Well, I wrote down some categories for our first ever mob deep dive.
Hell yeah, baby.
We're going to jump into these.
Jumping right in.
Okay. Category number 1, let's establish a little bit of groundwork. Give me your Mount Rushmore of mob movies. Where do you rank them and why?
My Mount Rushmore, I have to say Godfather, because that's like that's the very main mob movie, that has to be the Godfather of them all. After that, I would say Goodfellas. Can I say Sopranos? Is that part of it?
I wrote in my breakdown Sopranos ? Yeah. Can we include Sopranos in the Mount Rushmore of mob? Yes or no? I think it's up to the person making the category.
I think so. We're going to go ahead and we're going to mob this out and say we can fucking do what we want. All right. And it's I would say Sopranos. And then I love The Irishman. I think that was such an amazing mob movie. I loved it.
You did like it. People were split on The Irishman.
I loved it so much. I think I might have been a little biased because like it happened around Philly and stuff, and like it was weird because like I know a lot of like the unions and shit that they were like kind of going off of. My uncle used to work for them and stuff, and it's just like it was like I don't know. I just loved it so much. I know it was a long movie and took like 5 days to watch, and everyone joked about, but I love that. I don't know if I put it up on the Rushmore though. What do I have? Godfather, Goodfellas, Sopranos. I would say Casino. Yeah, there you go. Mount Rushmore.
I like that. I think those are, you talk mob movies, you're talking those categories, those movies you just said, no matter what, in some order. I'm going for my Mount Rushmore, Godfather, and I'm even putting Godfather 2. I'm putting Godfather 1 and 2.
Okay.
In my top spot.
Yeah.
I'm going Donnie Brasco for number 2.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I like Donnie Brasco because it's a different angle on the mob. It's the guy coming up, but it's got that police aspect to it. Yeah. And also I like that Al Pacino isn't a high up mob guy. I like that he's trying to work his way into it and he's struggling. He's having a personal struggle.
Yeah.
Within
and
then
like I pissed off at the bosses and shit the whole time too.
Right. We see the inner workings
in
there. So I'm going Donnie Brasco as my number 2.
Okay. I like it.
Number 3, I struggled with this one, but I gave it to Casino.
Okay.
I like that they went away from New York and they're in Vegas trying to expand.
Yeah.
So I like that we have a little bit of old timey Vegas, which the history of Vegas and mob is rich as well. I like that.
It's the city that the mob made. The mob made Vegas. Yeah.
Right. So I like that aspect. And I don't have the reference for Goodfellas that everybody has, not in the sense that I don't like the characters and stuff. I just don't know what Goodfellas, what the main point of the movie is. Like they don't have a goal they're shooting for. They don't have like a big crime they're trying to pull off. They're just essentially following Henry Hill. But this is kind of a Scorsese style movie. So it still works in it. So that's why I went Goodfellas after Casino and then Sopranos. And then I wrote, maybe not on Mount Rushmore, but maybe at the Visitor Center, Scarface. Do we consider Scarface a mob movie? This listen, I found a lot of varying literature on.
You might get a lot of comments right now on the channel of what I'm about to say, Patty pronouns. I don't like Scarface. I never did.
I'm willing to listen to this because I don't know if I like it either. I acknowledge it as an important movie, but I don't know if I want to watch it over and over again.
I like the movie. I think it's great. It's quotable. It's a good movie, but I don't like how like Pacino, I guess like as an actor, Pacino's always like, that was his favorite role, but like Pacino as Michael Corleone was just legendary, you know? And like, he always said like Scarface was his favorite one. And I think Scarface has nothing to do. Scarface is actually based off of Al Capone, but they switched that kind of character aspect and made it where he was Cuban and he was running like cocaine and all that stuff. So that's where they kind of got the Scarface idea. So Scarface originally Al Capone. I like it. I just never liked it.
I think Scarface might also suffer from a little bit of overexposure bias in the late 90s into the 2000s, where everything was like Scarface posters, Scarface artwork, memorabilia. Like if you would watch MTV Cribs, every rapper had Scarface stuff.
So true. Next to my pool is a Scarface poster, but also next to the my dining room is a Scarface poster. You know, it's like, come on.
That's right. Flip on any big screen TV, I got Scarface playing 24/7.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right to the club scene. So I think Scarface suffers from. But it's not a mob
movie. It's not a mob movie.
You don't consider it a mob movie?
It's a crime movie.
Okay.
There's a difference of crime movie and I think mob and mafia movies, because mafia movies in my eyes always dealt with the Italian mob. Crime movies, there's like crime movies where like Smoking Aces. You ever see Smoking Aces?
Long time ago, yeah.
That's an amazing movie. I wouldn't say it's a mob movie, but it's a good crime movie. I think Scarface is a crime movie.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're dealing with the drugs, the money, all that stuff. And It's not mob. He has nothing. He has no connections. He's talking to like the big high end, cocaine cartels and stuff, but it's not mob. I don't think.
I think that's fair. And in the vein of patty pronouns, when everybody gets mad at you, they're gonna say who. Category number 2, movies we forgot were mob movies. In doing the research, I found so many movies like, oh yeah, that was a mob movie. Is that a mob movie? That happens to be one. I got a few that surprised me or that I forgot about. Movies we forgot were mob movies. Number 1, Analyze This. How could I forget that was a mob movie?
I love that movie. I love it. I love I love when they took like mob movies completely comedic, because Goodfellas had like Scorsese always had that element of comedy in his movies, even though it was real dramatic. But yeah, Analyze This is such an amazing movie, such an amazing mob movie.
Great mix of the comedy within the dramatic mob. And also, what a great idea. The mob boss has to go to therapy.
Yeah.
The precursor possibly to The Sopranos.
Yeah, I think so. I think they came around. Yeah, they came out kind of around the same time. So it was like that same concept. And it's cool. And they have Analyze This and Analyze That is the
Analyze That might have turned the corner on that one. I don't remember that one being highly reviewed.
Yeah.
Analyze This, I forgot about.
Yeah.
Any mob movies you forgot were mob movies?
I
got a couple more.
It's funny. I have a whole section. This little brown case right here that I have, that's my whole mob movies collection. I have Sopranos, all the seasons. I have all of them. I was just looking at My Blue Heaven. You ever see that movie?
I have seen that movie. I forgot about that movie.
With Steve Martin.
And who's the other guy? Who's the other guy? Is it Rick Moranis?
No, it's Paul Giamatti, I think is the other guy in it, right?
I can't remember. I thought it was. Oh, I know. Okay, I'm mixing the two movies.
Yeah.
Let me look it up. My Blue Heaven, good mob movie. Good pick.
Because he's in the witness protection program and he has to go to this random place, but it's like a real comedic. I mean, he's just Steve Martin does the cool Italian, he just does so stereotypical, but awesome. But yeah, I think that's
Rick Moranis.
Rick Moranis. Okay.
1990.
It is Rick Moranis. What mob movie was Paul Giamatti in? Because he did the same kind of thing.
He was in Donnie Brasco, Paul Giamatti.
That's what I'm thinking. See, I mixed it. Guys. I mixed it. Yeah. There it is.
Joan Cusack also in My Blue Heaven. That might be worthy of a rewatch.
Oh, yeah.
Good pull. I forgot that the movie American Hustle had a mob element to it.
Oh, yeah.
I forgot that. Yeah. That's one of those movies that looked great on screen. And then I was like, well, what the hell's going on in this movie, though? Because it looks too good. And then I'm kind of let down by the end of it. I know everybody loved it, but I wanted to know more about the heist. And I felt like they never really got there.
Yeah.
What else did
I have one that's really, I just thought of it right now on top of my head. One that's super small and it's a small element in there is Reindeer Games.
Oh, Reindeer Games.
Because they go to rob the casino that's run by the mob. And it's that, I forget his name, but he's like always he was the mob guy in Get Shorty is also another one that you forget is a mob movie. Get Shorty with John Travolta. It's an awesome movie. Because his name, Reindeer Games. I forget the fucking guy's name.
Not Ben Affleck?
No, not Ben Affleck. It was he's the guy that plays the casino manager, but he's in the mob. So they're trying to rob, and he like shoots him with the shotgun and shit. It's great.
This might be the longest anyone has talked about Reindeer Games.
Which is, it's not a mob movie, but it has that element in there. That's why if you deep dive into it.
Okay, good deep dive.
It has that element.
Who are you talking about? You got Ben Affleck, Gary Sinise is in that movie.
He's the old
Danny Trejo Italian was in that movie.
The old Italian guy.
I'm looking at the cast.
Let me look up Get Shorty too.
Let's see. You're talking about Dennis Farina.
Yeah, there we go. I think
excellent mob character. I have him down in a future category. Another movie I forgot was a mob movie. Did you ever see the movie Oscar? Sylvester Stallone, early 90s. This was another attempt at mob comedy.
No, didn't see it.
I'm going to read you the slug line. A mob boss deals with multiple details on the day of his daughter's wedding.
So they stretched out the Godfather. The
Right.
Godfather
Yeah.
wedding
Essentially,
to an
it's
hour
a
and a
day in
half.
the life. The day of life of Stallone.
How many fucking appointments do I have to have in my office? That's awesome.
Oscar. And then I had, this one was interesting. I remember the movie. It has a lot of good reviews. However, I don't remember anything about the movie. The Freshman. Remember a movie called The Freshman?
With Matthew Broderick.
Matthew Broderick works for Marlon Brando, who's a mob boss, and he sort of takes him under his wing. Every review I read loved the movie. I have no recollection of this. I'm going to have to rewatch that one.
I remember seeing parts of it. It's kind of like, because Brando's like playing he's playing Vito Corleone pretty much in there. And that's where Matthew Broderick's like, is he in the Mafia?
Right.
Like
he's a total kind of fish out of water.
Yeah.
And you're sort of along for the ride. I'm going to have to rewatch it. I did not know that was a mob movie.
Yeah. Good pull.
Forgot about it.
The Freshman.
The Freshman. Great name for a movie too. There's a lot of ways you can take that.
Yeah.
Did I leave any out? Do you have any more mob movies we forgot about?
Mob movies you forgot about. Have you ever seen, I think it's just called Mafia. You ever seen that?
Oh yeah.
It's
a comedy.
Yeah, it's a real comedy movie. It's so bad, but it's so good at the same time. It's Mafia with an exclamation point, and the main guy in it, what the hell is his name? Mafia movie.
I'm picturing his face. Yeah.
I know. I can't think. It was
it's not. I was gonna say Leslie Nielsen, but that's the Naked Gun guy. It's the other guy.
Jay Moore. Jay Moore and Christina Applegate is in it.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of a different movie.
Yeah, it's this one right here. I don't know if I can pop up the picture. It came out in 98. It's like a spoof. It's kind of like how Scary Movies made fun of all the scary movies. This one made fun of Goodfellas, Casino, and all of them. And it was so cheesy. It got a 5.6 on IMDb. This right here. I don't know if you could see the title of it.
Oh, I remember that movie movie poster.
Yeah, it's just that one that you forgot that was even a movie.
I forgot that was a movie. Yeah. Oh, I left one out. Where do you stand on the movie Dick Tracy as a mob movie?
Oh, I love Dick Tracy, dude.
As a mob movie, does it get the pass?
I guess it could be a mob movie.
It seems like
it's more cartoony though. It's not
a cartoon mob element.
Yeah. I would say it's more on the. I would say it's a crime movie. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I guess it could be mob because you got the, Tony Whispers or whatever, and Pacino.
Right. We had nicknames. We had flashy clothes.
Yeah.
We had crime. We had the right time era.
Yeah, I would say it's mob movie.
Right. Maybe not
like
Disney version of mob movie.
Yeah, it's like not like the bottom. Because really, if you're thinking like Warren Beatty, who's incredible, he's done a ton of mob movies like Bonnie and Clyde, and also Bugsy. He was Bugsy, Bugsy Siegel. He played. That's where I think he was kind of using that kind of same kind of film noir character doing Dick Tracy too. But I don't know.
That's another one like Scarface, where I figure we could debate the merits of it till the end of time.
I think that's more of a mob movie than Scarface would be. I think.
I agree.
If you put that up, that on the scoreboard. Yeah.
Next category. Okay, I wrote for this category categories of mob movies. There's one of three ways mob movies can go. I got number one category, Americana. Number two, New York Grit. And number three, Law and Order SV. You talking to me? So you got Americana, like examples that would be the movie Bugsy. I wrote down LA Confidential as well. Then New York Grit. I got A Bronx Tale, Goodfellas, The Irishman. And then Law and Order SV. You talking to me would be a movie like The Departed, Donnie Brasco, or Hoffa that has this real Law and Order cops versus bad guys element
Yeah.
to it. Do I leave any categories out? Is there any other category of movie
Well,
that mob falls under?
as we said in the beginning, everything's always New York, New York and Jersey. It's always East Coast. You also have like West Coast mob movies too, I guess. More of like the glitz and glamour, because you can have like Vegas style in there.
Right. Would that go under Americana, or do you think that's its own category?
What's like the meaning of like Americana?
I'm thinking, well, when I think Bugsy or LA Confidential, I'm with you. Glitz, glamour, the mob making its way out west, it getting into the entertainment industry. I'm when I hear Americana, I think that. I think 1940s ish sort of glam roar coming out of the Roaring 20s. Americana. Okay. Coca-Cola,
Americana.
hot dogs.
Gotcha. Okay. Kind of like the American dream, Americana kind of thing. Okay.
That's how I'm categorizing it. It's open to interpretation.
I like that. Would you think of like anti-hero? Because some of them are that. Maybe that could be a category.
That's good. Anti-hero mob.
Anti-hero mob. Because that could be like where Sopranos falls into. That is still like New York grit is Sopranos, but at the same time, it's kind of like you're rooting for that bad guy, as we talked about in the beginning. You know, where the bad guy is the good guy in the movie. You know.
Yeah. New York grit. If I were to rank them, I think that one gets the top rank. The New York grit mob movie.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll ever get enough of that. We could go to that forever.
That's I think you got it.
And the Law and Order one is real simple. It's cops and robbers.
That's all the cops and robbers. Yeah.
Trying to bust them, trying to get them in the courts. The one maybe I left out was the comedy version.
Yeah.
Maybe a category of mob comedy.
Yeah, I think. And there's not that many of mob comedies anymore. You know, that used to be such a cool, like, analyze this and analyze that was probably one of the last ones that got made. And that was 20 years ago?
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Which makes me think we're due for something.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of it, I think there's really only like two sides of it. You're either on the mob side or you're on the cop side. So like Departed, you get a little bit of both. But you're mainly on the cop side for Departed, which is such an amazing movie, dude. I've watched that a ton.
Where do you come down on Jack Nicholson's accent in that movie? That's where I lose it every time in that movie. I was like, I can't take this seriously.
He kind of has the Boston accent, though. He does.
He kind of does.
Yeah, I think he's got it. But he's so like, you know, we're all on our way out. Dress accordingly. You know, it just. I think I love that movie so much. When Scorsese won the award for it, finally too. Which he kept getting robbed all the other years.
So many heavy hitters in that movie too. We had DiCaprio, we had Nicholson, Wahlberg, Baldwin.
Yeah. It's funny, man.
Whereas something like Donnie Brasco, we're essentially rooting for Donnie Brasco, the cop, the undercover cop, the whole movie.
Yeah, I guess. But you're also rooting for you're rooting for the cop.
You are rooting for Al Pacino. He's a sympathetic character.
Yeah. Man, when he fucking leaves for the last time in that movie, doesn't that choke you up?
Yes.
When he puts all his jewelry away and just walks out. He looks around. And, Pacino. He's the best in that.
Definitely, he's our Tom Brady of mob actors, which I have a category for in a second. But when it comes to like, I'm making a mob movie, like, can we get Pacino? Can we get Tom Brady in our huddle? We need him in the huddle.
I think
what it takes.
I love Pacino, but I think De Niro. I think De Niro is the top guy.
He's up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's our Bird versus Magic.
Yeah.
De Niro.
Yeah.
Those are the guys.
Yeah. You always think De Niro. I think.
Next category. Here's my favorite category so far. Worst mob movies. We talked about all the good ones, but there are some stinkers over the years. Here's what I wrote down in my research. A movie called Mobsters. The Whole 9 Yards, which I watched recently. I almost threw my iPad at the ground.
Yeah.
Killing Them Softly, I did not like. That Brad Pitt Hitman movie did not do it for me. And then, of course, seems to be top of the list of everybody's is Gotti.
Gotti is
it has
so
a 0
bad.
on Rotten Tomatoes.
It's
0.
so fucking bad, dude.
What is bad about the movie?
Do you know
Gotti?
what took me out of the movie? I actually, to give it a little bit of credit, I love Travolta in it. I don't know why. I just like him as an actor, but like I also thought he was good and he was cool. It could have had better. I mean, I personally sent my resume to them back in like 2007 to try to be a part of the movie because it was filming in New York. That went through such a production scale. I think that's why it like kept getting shittier and shittier and shittier. Is like they're supposed to have like Lindsay Lohan in there and stuff, and they were supposed to have Pacino and like other big name guys in there, and it just became so shitty. And one thing that takes you out of it, there's a scene where they're talking about like, we're gonna run this city, we're gonna take over, and we're gonna be the guys, you know, whatever. And then it cuts to a montage. And during that montage, the music that's playing is Walk Like an Egyptian.
Oh, no.
So you just
why did they do that?
You just see these mob guys beating people up to like Walk Like an Egyptian. It's so fucking bad.
Oh,
like,
my God.
Halfway through the movie, you're like, I don't even know why I'm watching this shit.
Wow.
What is happening right now?
Why did they couldn't clear the rights to Hall & Oates? They had to use Walk Like an Egyptian. That's horrible.
It was so bad. It's just like, it was so cheesy. That's what makes it, if it's not real, it's not gritty, it doesn't have that New York grit, as you said. You know, it's just like, it just ends up being cheesy. It's just bad that way, you know? And like,
you know how we give movie 4 stars if it's really good, but if a movie's really bad and it's a mob movie, we should give it 4. Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of here with this nonsense.
I give Gotti 5. Get the fuck out of here, because get the fuck out of here, Gotti. What are you doing? Oh. Oh.
Yeah, Travolta's an interesting one because I watched The People versus O.J. Simpson, where he is Robert Shapiro, and he is excellent in that movie. And it seems like a natural sort of transition to be this mob boss, right age. He can be intense, and yet somehow it just seems like everything didn't work around him. What would be, so you wanted to be a part of the movie? What would you were trying to be an extra or in some way, shape, or form?
I was trying to be,
What would have been your ideal extra? Would you like to be in the bar? Would you like to have been one of the henchmen, driver? What was your dream?
If I knew they were going to be playing Let's Walk Like an Egyptian, I want to be in that montage.
Getting beat up?
Yeah, getting beat up. I want to be an extra in that, man. Dude, I sent my resume. There was this Grant Whiffley casting in New York. I sent my resume. I was on like an email chain of like 15 different times to try to be on Boardwalk Empire and stuff too back east, because it's filmed back east. I was never able to. I just kept getting like lost in translation with it. You know what I mean? But they never got. I sent an email to their production company. The Gotti guys, when it was still like, this is like 2009, 2010 or something. So it was like way, like they couldn't find funding and all that stuff too and whatnot. So it was just a big shit show of a production. So
it's never even made it to extra status.
Never made it to extra status, which I guess is a blessing.
But did you have dreams of being an extra? We're like, I'm going to be an extra. I'm going to be the guy in the suit.
Yeah. That'd be great.
Yeah, that would be just give me 1 second of screen time. I just want to be the guy in the suit.
Yeah.
The other bad mob movie, Mobsters. This is 1991.
Christian Slater.
Check out this cast. Christian Slater, Patrick Dempsey is in this movie. It should be good, but I think it was too much too early for these young actors. I think there was a time where Christian Slater was going to be the man. He was a good actor. We all liked him. And I think he got market corrected by DiCaprio. I think DiCaprio comes along and he's just like, if Christian Slater threw 90 miles an hour, DiCaprio came in throwing 100. And it was like, so long, Slater. I'm taking over for the next 10 plus years.
Yeah.
Because he was in a lot of movies in those days. Christian Slater was.
True Romance was an amazing movie.
True Romance, Heathers. Do you remember Christian Slater in Heathers?
Yeah.
It was really, really dark and he's really, really good at it. And this Mobsters movie does not work. It's just bad all around.
I used to love it. But that's another thing where Mobsters was just, it had that cast, but you don't see Patrick Dempsey being fucking badass. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Like he's not going to be like a big mob boss guy. And Christian Slater the same way, because he was like, it was just very cheesy. That was the whole thing about it. See, they got the story right, because what they were trying to do was talk about how Lucky Luciano and Meyer Lansky and all them kind of came up in New York in those days to kind of take over and create the create the whole band between the what's it called, not the conjunction. I always forget this term, but kind of make like an alliance of all the five families and stuff, which is what they do. But yeah, like them going against Faranzano and stuff, it was just all very cheesy. The lines they used to say, and like, and the one guy that pops up in that movie when he's got the guns, he's like a hitman. He's just like some little tiny guy. It's like, all right, everybody, we're gonna, right. Just like, I forget his name. He probably never worked after that, because it was just so bad. But they used to be like, Tony No-Nos.
Tony No-Nos.
Yeah, Tony No-Nos. Looks like you're not going to be going to dinner tonight. And they would shoot you with the Tommy gun. You're like, what is happening in this movie?
You're right. You're so right. There's a fine line between cool and cheesy. Yeah. And I also think this Mobsters movie suffers a little too much from the MTV era, where it was a little more style and like young person writing, and it sort of kills the movie.
It was very stereotypical though, too. You know?
Yeah. It never gets over the hill. We got Christian Slater, Patrick Dempsey, Anthony Quinn, Laura Flynn Boyle, Richard Grieco. Richard Grieco still had some heat on him at the time. Chris Penn. This movie should be good. It should be good.
And Chris Penn is awesome, you know?
Yes. Yeah, we have a murderer's row of great performances, and yet this movie is horrific. Worst mob movies for you. Did I leave any out?
Gotti is one of the worst ones I ever seen. I wrote this one down because I got duped into getting this at Redbox when Redbox was around, thinking it was going to be cool. I looked it up. It starred Harvey Keitel, and I thought it's called The Last Godfather. I don't know why this was made. Harvey Keitel is retiring, and he never had a son, but they find out that he had a son. Let me see the exact. I'm going to send you the exact thing, the log line of it. A mafia boss trains his mentally impaired son as his successor. But I think he's coming from. Okay. The son of mafia boss is too forced to be part of the mafia elite. One day, Young-gu comes to his father and is trained by Tony V to his father's successor. A few days later, Young-gu accidentally rescues Nancy, the only daughter of Don Buffon, the rival, the underboss. So Jason Mewes also plays an underboss in the movie. It's so bad from the start, because Harvey Keitel is like, I never had a son. Oh no, you had a son. He had an Asian son. So he comes over from Asia.
Really?
And it's just a stereotypical, I mean, it probably got under, because it was so like against like Asian stereotypes and stuff too, where he comes over and he's just very like, just so stereotypical Asian. And there's one scene that kind of how Gotti has like walk like an Egyptian. There was a scene where Young-gu needs to go in and blow up this rival front, and he goes in with a bomb, but it's like the music they have is like fucking cartoony, and then he comes up because it blows up, and the guys he was like, oh shit, Young-gu's inside, and then Young-gu comes inside with all like just the dust on him because the bomb blew up. And he's holding the bomb. And it was like one of those bombs where like it was just a circle bomb with a flare on it. It was just so fucking bad.
Sounds like a cartoon bomb.
It was a cartoon bomb. It was so bad. Such a bad mob movie. Never again. Never again.
That's a good candidate. We should rename this category the Walk Like an Egyptian Award. The worst mob movie. The Walk Like an Egyptian movie goes to Gotti or whatever our movie of choice is. I got a couple Gotti movie reviews I forgot to say.
Oh, nice.
Gotti is exactly 0 on Rotten Tomatoes. A couple critics have some reviews. Number one, they served a dish that's somehow cold, bland, and overspiced. Gotti is the room of mob movies. And
The
finally,
Room.
The Room. Yeah. And finally, a gaudy, awful mess. Critics did not like Gotti.
I love that.
Next category. Okay, this one I'm going to throw at you.
Okay.
Okay, this, we know the Pacinos, we know the De Niros, we know those are our go-to first string, first ballot Hall of Famer mob actors.
Mhm.
But these are your role players. Who do you have to have in a mob movie in order for it to be a legit mob movie? I'm going to give you a few that I wrote down. We mentioned Dennis Farina.
Mhm.
Michael Imperioli is another one for me.
Yeah, there you go, Christopher.
Paul Sorvino is
Yep.
another one. This guy has to be in one or two scenes of the movie if I'm to believe this is a mob movie. Any other actors? I wrote about 5 other ones. Any other actors that you've got to have in a mob movie?
I mean, it's automatically a mob movie if Joe Pesci's in it also. You know?
Pesci. Yeah.
You need
Does
Pesci
he get
in it.
first string
He's first
category,
string for
or
sure.
is he
Yeah.
off the bench?
He's first string for sure. Any movie he's in is a mob movie, you know?
That's true.
Even like in Home Alone, when he was Home Alone,
say-
you know, it was like a mob front.
I was going to say Home Alone. You could argue he was in the mob. They were committing crimes.
It's the Wet Bandits. Who else would be in a mob movie? Well, there was always if you look at like Sopranos cast, those guys were just always in different, like what's his name? Like Vincent Pastore. He was
got him on my list. Yep.
Yep.
I got Vincent Pastore on there.
Vincent Pastore's on there. Frank Vincent.
I got him on my list too. He's the
Yep.
guy with the white hair temples, I think.
Yeah.
He's got the hair kind of
nice head of
pompadour. He's
hair,
got
you know,
white temples.
Looks like a guy we know, you know? Oh shit, that's the guy. You know,
Hey, he's one of us.
he's one of us. Yeah.
Gotta have him.
Frank Vincent is always in there. I would say this is a guy that was in Goodfellas. He was in Goodfellas where he was saying like he owned the restaurant that they had to take over. And he's like, I don't know, just shoot him. You know, he was talking to Paulie about like Joe Pesci just going nuts. His name's Tony Darrow, which he was always in mob movies. He was also in Analyze This. He was one of the mob guys in that.
Ooh.
He was in
I don't have him
Sopranos.
down. That's a good one.
He is just always, it's funny because like those East Coast guys, they always got stereotyped into being these mob guys. They were just always in those movies. They just always played them. I think that's, he's got to be in there too, because he was in a ton of them. And I think there's probably more too. There's so many.
I got one more. I got Michael Madsen.
Michael Madsen's a good
I'll
one.
take him in a mob movie. And then I got 2 females. What do you think about this?
Oh,
I
okay.
got Leah Remini. I don't know if she has to have been in a mob movie, right? She's perfect East Coast ball buster girl to me.
Yeah.
And then Debbie Mazar. Debbie Mazar, I would love to be in every other mob movie from here on out as well.
Debbie Mazar. What was she in?
Debbie Mazar is, did you ever watch Entourage? She was the main guy's like publicist lady. She's been in a ton of TV.
Oh, yeah.
I want to say she's been in a couple of mob movies.
Yeah. Debbie Mazar. Yeah.
I'll look her up. I'll give
I
you
gotta
a few
look her up right now
titles.
so I can see her. How you spell her last name? Mazer?
Mazar. She has been in, let's take a look.
Oh, yeah. She was in Goodfellas.
She was in Goodfellas.
Yep. That's her. Yeah.
Batman Forever. I don't remember her in that.
Debbie
She's
Mazar.
been in a ton of stuff. There's Entourage. I wouldn't mind seeing her in every other mob movie. I think I have this theory about presidents for movies. You know how we elect a president every 4 years? I say we elect a movie president every 4 years, and every movie that has a president in it, he has to play. That way we get consistency as an audience. And also we know the era. We're like, oh, check it out. Morgan Freeman was a president. Ooh, this movie was made in 2002.
Yeah.
Like, we just know we'll go to the era every time. So maybe we can elect a Debbie Mazar award for someone every 5 or so years. And she has to be the wife in the mob movie.
I love that. Well, I was going to say Catherine Narducci. She was Artie Bucco's wife in Sopranos. She was known for that, but she was also the wife in Bronx Tale. That was Calagero's mom, De Niro's wife in there. She was also in The Irishman. She was De Niro's wife again in The Irishman also.
Okay,
Or no,
so
you
maybe
know what?
this rule is
She might have been
in
Pesci's.
effect already.
She was Pesci's wife, I think, in Irishman. But she was in a ton of like she's always, but she has that New York accent, like get the fuck out. Like also like, if
What
you
are
think
you
of like,
fucking kidding me?
yeah, like if you think of like
Gotta
Mike,
have that.
yeah, you got to have that attitude, which she
You know
does
what
in all her
we
movies.
hasn't been looked at too much in the mob genre movies is something from the female side, the mob boss's wife. We had Married to the Mob, but maybe a mob boss's wife, a mob boss's mother, a mob boss's sister, maybe something from that angle is a mob movie in the works at some point.
I have a friend that's been working on this script for a long time. I'm not going to talk about it because I don't want it to get like, someone
Talk
takes
about
it. Someone takes it off YouTube and then he's like, you fucking ruined my script.
Mikey P, you've been doing a little too much talking on the YouTubes.
On the YouTubes. We're going to call him Mikey YouTubes from now on.
Mikey YouTubes.
There was this movie called, I think, Mob Girls, where like Mariah Carey was in there and stuff too. And they worked at this.
Are you sure that wasn't Glitter?
Yeah, I think that was the other side of Glitter. This was the glamour. There was the glitter and this is the glamour. It starred because Paul Sorvino, who played Paulie in Goodfellas, his daughter Marina Sorvino.
I think it's Mia.
Mia Sorvino. Yeah, Mia. I'm gonna look it up right now. Mia Sorvino. Mia Sorvino, and what's that movie she was in? I think it was called Mob Girls, and she worked at a restaurant, and it was just so bad. Again, it was so cheesy. So like there was one cool element where they worked at that restaurant, and the way they whacked people, they threw them in the grinder. So like it'd always be like in the meat or something like that.
Fine line. We're noticing a real element to cheese with some of these movies that don't work. When it doesn't work, it's because they're just too cheesy. They're cartoonish.
It's just cheesy.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a female.
Oh, it's called Wise Girls.
Oh yeah, that's cheesy from the start.
Yeah, it's called Wise Girls. It had Mariah Carey in it. Joe Cervano, who played I think Tony Soprano's dad in Sopranos for a little bit. He was like the main guy in there. It had like these like B-list kind of mob characters in there that played him, like mob actors. It was so bad. What's it get? It's got a 5.8 on still better than Gotti though.
Gotti, the loser in the clubhouse.
Still better than Gotti.
Ooh, a Gotti awful mess.
A Gotti awful mess.
I got to give it to that critic. This is the perfect quote.
A Gotti awful mess. Yeah, it's so funny.
Yeah. Next category. What actor needs to be in a mob movie? This goes to an actor who's never been in a mob movie, but has that element, has that sort of persona that would be great in some sort of mob role. I came up with two names. One I feel good about, one I don't. First name, Joseph Gordon-Levitt. I think could be in a mob movie. He already wore a lot of suits in that movie Inception. So we know he can look good in a suit.
Yeah.
And then my second offering that I'm not so high on, Adam Driver. I think we clean him up. We make him something. I think he could look the part. I don't know if he could pull off the part, but I think he's a good actor. So I'm curious to see him try.
Yeah. I'm not a big Adam Driver fan.
No, but what's he in other than Star Wars? Other than
he was in Girls.
Oh yeah.
He played the boyfriend in Girls. Yeah. Dames. Those Dames. Joseph Gordon-Levitt's a good one. I like that.
I would like to see him in a mob movie.
He was in this movie called Brick. It was like a film noir type movie that was actually, well, what was that? Fuck. I got to look up Joseph Gordon-Levitt now. He was just in that movie. It wasn't a mob movie. It was the one where like he kind of had to they like had to like keep changing timelines. He like killed people.
Looper.
Which
was it Looper?
Wasn't a mob movie, but he was more like a hitman in there. But he would be a good mob kind of. He would be a good
Yeah,
mob
if I
capo
saw him
and
in a trailer for a mob movie, I'd be like, yes, I'm
yeah,
checking this movie out. I like him in this.
I like that.
Yeah. Who do you got?
I gotta go with Mike Perkins. Put him in a fucking mob movie, will you?
Oh,
Put him in there. Put him in. Man, who would be good in a mob movie?
Mikey Late Nights.
Mikey Late Nights. Man, I'm baffled at this question.
It's harder than I would thought when I floated the idea in my head and I started looking.
Yeah.
It is not easy. It's not because you got your favorite actors, but it takes a little something to pull off that mob look, that mob intensity.
Yeah.
It's sort of like mob intensity would be like bringing a pot to a boil, and then every once in a while the water overflows and then you got to take down the heat. That's the you think I'm funny, and then the water goes over and then you got to bring it back down. And then it goes over and you got to bring it back down.
Yeah. Oh man. What actors would you want to see in there? I don't know. I can't think of any right now.
Well, we can come back to it. It's it could be an ongoing category. Did I leave anything out? Okay, let's finish with this one. Favorite mob quotes. Favorite mob movie quotes. I wrote a few down. Start off with a couple obvious ones. You broke my heart.
Mm-hmm.
You think I'm funny? Here's one from Godfather that a little bit of underrated quote when Vito Corleone says, "Act like a man," when he shakes that one guy.
Yeah.
Oh no, sorry, I messed it up. Act like a man. What's the matter with you?
Yeah. What's the matter with you?
Act like a man. What's the matter with you?
Uh-huh.
This one I love. Never rat on your friends and always keep your mouth shut.
That's one of the best lines of all time.
And then my favorite one, I think you'd be hard pressed to beat this one. As long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Yeah.
The start to Goodfellas just sets you up for the whole movie. Right into the music. As long as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
I know I'd go from rags to riches.
Singing Mikey P.
Until I'd be a king. Those are good quotes. Those are great. I love them.
Mob quotes. Do you have any you like? Any you quote in your personal day-to-day?
I love one from Goodfellas. It's always so funny to me. It was from the character Tootie when he's a kid at the cab stand, and he's like, "You wasted 8 fucking aprons on this guy." I always love that quote because the guy's bleeding outside of the restaurant. He's like, "You wasted 8 fucking aprons on this guy. We got to toughen this kid up."
Good one. I forgot the classic. Don't forget the cannoli.
Yeah.
After they whack the dude, and he's like, "Don't forget the cannoli." Classic quote.
Leave the gun, take the cannoli.
Mm-hmm.
Another one I would think of in Casino. I always think of the funny ones. When he's yelling at Sharon Stone, and I guess it's not really a quote, but a clip, I guess, where he's yelling at Sharon Stone and he's like, "I knew the guy 30 years. I'm going to whack him for you." And then she starts hitting him and he throws her outside and she starts yelling and going off. And he's at the door. He's like, all right, see ya. All right, yeah. Because all these people are around. I fucking love that line.
I do remember that. That is funny.
It's so fucking funny to me all the time.
That's a good one. I'm remembering the Al Pacino super dramatic Donnie Brasco one, where he's telling the guy about, getting whacked. And he's like, and it's your best friend who does it. It's a real like tearjerker mob quote moment where you're like, holy shit, this guy knows this could end at any second.
Yeah.
That's a good quote.
That's a good one. I think another, you got a Bronx Tale too. When, I can't think of the quote from Bronx Tale right now. When he
You're
talks,
right. Bronx Tale doesn't get mentioned a lot in the mob.
Bronx Tale is
genres.
such an
That's
amazing,
an excellent one.
It's an amazing movie, and it has such good, like put him in the closet, throw him in the closet. That's a good quote from Bronx Tale. I love that movie so much.
There was a time, I think this is from Casino. you can never get away with writing this into the movie now, but how Joe Pesci constantly calls Robert De Niro a Jew bastard throughout the whole movie. What are you talking about, you Jew bastard? You can never write that into a movie now. But sometimes whenever Al Pacino says it, you can't help but start laughing.
Yeah. What's so funny is watching Casino on regular TV back in the day when he'd be like, you money lover, you money lover.
Yes. That's true. We were deprived as kids from the true words and dialogue for years due to cable TV until we could rent the movies.
This is one that I quote a lot in Goodfellas when they're talking about getting a knife to cut Billy Bats, and he's like,
Yes.
he's like, it's sick, Ma. It's his paw, and then De Niro's like the hoof.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. It was like, whoa, what you got?
Yeah,
the hoof.
The hoof.
Yeah, that's right, the hoof.
The hoof.
Yes, that kitchen scene, I could almost be an entire quote in itself.
Yeah.
It's like, when are you gonna settle down with a nice girl? Hey, I settle down every night with a nice girl, Mom. He's like, stop it.
I want to come home and be with you. What do you mean?
That's right. I'm gonna borrow this knife, okay?
Yeah. So
all
good.
right, bring it back.
Yeah. Another famous one is "Fuck you, pay me."
That's a good one.
Top fire. Fuck you, pay me.
Good one.
Fuck you, pay me. That's a good one. Good mob quote.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think. Well, Godfather. I'm trying to think of some Godfather quotes.
Godfather's got a ton. You're right. A lot of just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in.
That's a famous
Sleep
one.
with the fishes and offer.
Yeah.
He can't refuse. Those are the ones we all know. Those are great.
Yeah. Also, there's the one when he talks to Fredo when he's like, never turn your back on the family again, or never step out of line and turn your back against the family. Something like that. When he's yelling, when Fredo's actually trying to stick up for what's his name in Vegas, Mickey Eyes. No, not Mickey Eyes.
Right.
That's his name in Goodfellas. Mickey Eyes.
The performer guy. He's
What's
the
up,
guy
guy?
that he shakes and says, "Act like a man." I think, right? We're talking about the same guy.
No. This is oh my God. He's the main guy in Godfather 2 that he has the glass. No, he's in Godfather 1. He has glasses. Mo Green. You don't talk to Mo Green in Vegas that way. And he's like, right. Fredo, don't ever pick sides against the family again, is what he says, which leads you up to Godfather 2 when he actually flips on the other fucking side. You know?
Right. So many quotes, and they've been inserted into countless movie parodies or just everyday lexicon.
Yeah.
We say them. There really needs to be a Mafia to English dictionary, because like I needed to know what like all the slang was.
Yeah.
When they would call somebody something, like, what's that mean? I know it's derogatory, but what's that mean?
There's some slangs. Yeah. Like we always say gumad. We still say that. Gumad is like your side chick.
That's the side chick, right?
Gumad. I'm talking about gumad. I was gonna say another one from Godfather 2 was he was the old guy that doesn't roll over on the family. I forget the character's name. Not Tatalia. But he was the old guy, talks like this. We need the Italian music, play the Italian. But he says, he's like, once we were like the Roman Empire, the Corleone family. And then that's when he says like, oh man, I don't know why I'm blanking on these quotes. Did I pass the audition?
Mike, this is why you'll never make it as an extra. You're failing under pressure. Not only are you never going to be in the mob, you're never going to be made because you're half Irish, you're half Italian. You're never going to be an extra. You're not even fit to be an extra in my movie.
I guess it's good. I don't know how to talk, I think it's good. Don't say a fucking word. Don't do it.
Yo, Mikey, YouTubes, that's where you're going to stay on YouTube. You Jew bastard.
That's so funny. You money lover, you. That's great.
That's right. Well, I think we broke this down 10 times over. We got quotes. We got actors that need to be in mob movies. We got our off the bench actors. We got female actors. We got the worst mob movies ever that we spent way too much time on.
Yeah.
But this sets us up for future mob deep dives.
I love it, dude. This is awesome.
Mike, never go against the family. And no matter what, always keep your mouth shut.
Exactly.
For Mikey Late Nights, this is Patty Pronouns. We'll see you next time on the show. Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, man.
Okay, everybody, that is it. That is the show. That is Mob Rule ? We're going to find out if that's our title or not. I want to thank Mike Perkins, or should I say Mikey Late Nights, for co-hosting with me as we broke down our inaugural Mob episode. I hope you like it. I hope you go back and listen to Mike's episode too in the past so you can learn a little bit more about him and check his shows out too. Speaking of shows, July 16th, 7:30, Flappers Comedy Club right here in Burbank, California. Come out and see me, everybody. It's going to pack out. So get your tickets early. People want to see shows. And if you want to, you can be in there. See me dispense what's been going on with me, hopefully in a comedic form. You'll like it. Thank you, everybody, for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel. I appreciate it. I have some more guests lined up. Couple favorites. Couple new ones. It's all going to be great. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Mike Perkins, a.k.a. Late Nights. For Patrick Ramirez for running it back. I will see you next time.